before I stitch it, before I stitch these closed, I am going to finish off the lining. So what I'm going to do is just run it through the serger, just the single layer. Okay. So what I did was I ran the serger just along the edge. So this type of fabric that's not going to unravel, but it does do that really annoying curl. So by putting, just finishing the edges, it gives it a little more stability, while still having stretch because it is the serger, so that it just won't curl quite as much while she's wearing it. All right. All right, all right, all right. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to use my sewing machine for this bits that come through this little intersection, so I don't accidentally cut something with the serger blade. And I'm switching to a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine because it is a stretchy material. Sewing machine is going to be a jerk about it because of course it knows we're almost done. I would like to not take you apart on stream. How's that? There it is. All right. So grumpy. Why can't you be happy for me, sewing machine? All right. So one side of the lining is done. And so the lining sides are going to be flipped in, so they won't be next to the skin, so I'm not as worried about them with that nice clean serger edge. Alright, so lining is stitched together. So then we're going to stitch together our bottoms. Or the rest of the dress, I should say. So now we need to figure out what happened here before I go sewing things together. All right, let's check. Let me take these pins out because I will forget they're in there. All right, so for some reason our edges didn't line up with the extension that we put on there. So we're going to figure out I'm just going to double check and make sure that everything will still fit if we do that thing. So I'm going to turn this right side out as soon as I can figure out what that is. Here we go. All right, Sandy's looking pretty good. Make sure all the lining is straight in there, and it is. All right, so there we go. Okay. So what we're missing is this little extra piece right here. So let's make sure that if we do in fact grade out to where this is, that it still fits. All right, so got this. I think that is gonna work, y'all. I think so. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So that's what we'll do. You always want to check before, you know, just like wood cutting. Measure twice, cut once. So. Flip this back inside out, right sides together. And so this is where we stopped with the stitching. And so we're gonna go the rest of the way. And that's a great idea. So I'm going to use my sewing machine to be a little bit closer to our little intersection stitch, and then I will use the serger for the part that's going to actually show. Which is a weird thing to say about seams, but just a little bit there, and same thing on the other side. Again, making sure that we're not catching the collar or the top in any of this. There it is. We're going to jump over to the serger. And we'll do the side that all lines up first, because that'll be easier for us. side. All right, and because this is the side that got weird, this is what happens with the serger, that it cuts off this little thin piece when it does its stitching. You see something similar when you're looking at like t-shirts and stretchy shirts that you buy at the store that are ready-made. They use a they probably use a cover stitch machine, which is similar and not quite a serger, but the idea is the same, that it uses multiple threads to overlock and keep that in. So if you've heard of an overlock machine or a cover stitch machine, all those are very similar. So here we go. And of course, my friend will probably step into this dress instead of putting it over her shoulders. But Sandy likes to stand very tall and still, so. Also making sure that the lining stays pulled, because Sandy is covered with fabric, which my friend will not be until she puts on the dress, and so that makes sometimes the fabric gets a little clingy on poor Sandy. Right? But that's it, y'all. Let me move this chair out of the way so you can see. We have made a dress. Look at that. And it looks awesome. Fits perfect. Sandy's hips are actually a little bit bigger than my friend's are. So if it looks a little tight, that's why. And then, so all we have left to do is to basically, we've got this little extra bit here because we're making a high-low dress. So what I'll do is when I run the hem, I'll cut on a curve so that it looks like it's all one piece. But otherwise, this dress is finished. In fact, I'm gonna bring it out of a little clippy here and we'll take a really close look. So there's our neckline with our 3 straps here, and here's the back. So there's the elastic that we put in, the casing, and here we go on the sides with the lining, which will be flat when she wears it. And here's the bottom. And again, so this is what I was talking about. If you can see this little extra sort of weird corner there. So what I'll do is I will lay it flat and follow this curve here all the way up so it looks like one single curve. And there's our extra piece that we added. I almost got it lined up, but that's okay. So yeah, y'all, we made this super cool dress. It was a little confusing, some of the directions. Although now that I know, if I decided that I want to make it again, I have some ideas about how I would personally put it together differently just because of the way that I read and the way that I understand directions. But page 20 of directions are done. And hem the dress is our last step. And then it's it. We're done. Well, thank y'all so much for joining me. I am going to have to run. So hemming will be another day. I'll hem it on Friday and then it will be done. And yeah, so thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to start doing Thursday morning streams of sewing and crafting, whatever project I might be working on. So there's no telling. I have coming up, I have going to be working on a pair of Leiku from Twi'leks from Star Wars. To try and figure out how to make those. I have a couple of thoughts. I also have a commission for making some glowing test tube style things for armbands. So I'm going to be looking at materials and figuring out the best course of action for those. And I have a project that I had put off because of COVID that I've got sort of on the, we call it a UFO, an unfinished object. So I was working on a cyber arm and a drone for a Shadowrun costume. And the drone is very small. I actually learned a little bit about robotics and how to put it together. That was part of my process because I always like to learn new things. So I want to build a little casing for my drone so he looks real cute. And then the cyber arm, it's 3D printed pieces. I started with foam and then translated that over to 3D. So we'll be working on the finishing of that and how to attach it to fabric so that we can complete that. And yeah, so that's sort of what I got on the docket for commissions and stuff right now. And along with any Etsy orders that might come along, if you want to check us out on Etsy, we're thegeekforge.etsy.com. We also have a website, thegeekforge.org, where we also have a store as well as some additional, we did some stuff for Asian American Heritage Month a couple of months back. And we've got our Instagram, which is @GeekForge. On Twitter, we're The Geek Forge. And on Facebook, we're also The Geek Forge. So thank you, everybody, who came by and hung out and kept me company while I talked to myself while I was sewing. And I will see you all next week.